गुड मॉर्निंग एंड वेलकम टू गना शॉट. गना शॉट में आप सबको स्वागत है. I'm at the outset. I'm a bit late today. Sorry because I had to go to the airport in the morning to see someone off, and by the time I got back, got ready, and all that, it's taken time. I'm right. They say in a test match, the day three is the moving day. So to that extent, something moved in this spat between you know Iran and Israel and Israel come USA. A few press briefings came. The US side came out with their story and what's happened so far and all that. We'll get the major issues of it. But what I'll do is I'll start with the headlines. The headlines tell you the mood of that area and where it is. So we'll start with that. See, New York Times says Rubio warns Iran that hardest hits are yet to come. So there's something more to come from USA, right? What he says, "Bhai, ye to naya hai." And then, of course, you look at it, he says Trump predicts weeks of war as military strikes widen. So it's not going to be a small thing. This is all coming out. And here it says, US military death toll rises to 6. So 6 people have died already, right? And it's going to go up. It's not something which, this is something which Trump also said yesterday in a speech that, look, there's going to be sacrifices required and people are going to pay. And that's the way it is, and fine. So this is how New York Times has reported. Let's see what Washington Post says. Trump says strikes on Iran could last 4 to 5 weeks. Long haul, right? And US pledges to send more troops. So they're telling that, look, this demand, it's not an easy one-off kind of a equation like what happened with Venezuela. They're looking at a longer haul. They have to get in more weapons. They have to get in more troops. They have to get in reinforcements. That's very clear. Of course, he also reports death toll rises to 6. Yeah. Now, what does Al Jazeera say? The other side of the equation. It says Iran threatens to torch tankers, which means Strait of Hormuz, tankers, international oil, it's going to disrupt. Iran very clearly has gone on a plan which is some kind of a scorched earth policy. Okay? And then this is interesting here. Why Qatar's energy LNG production halt could shake up global gas markets. This is the thing. So Qatar has stopped its production and LNG will not flow out from there. Things will shake up. Markets are going to be down. A lot of panic. And that's what Iran wants. Chaos and panic. Pressures. Right? Pressure of people on USA, on everyone to say, okay, resume. And otherwise, they're buying time. Like in all their mediations, they bought time. Iran is buying time out of this. And Iran is not pooping off ammunition the way it did in the last thing. They are targeting, they've got some plan in place, and that is what is coming through. And that comes through not from what Iran says, that comes through from what USA says. Okay, so that's how it is. And yesterday, of course, Peter Hegseth and his chief of staff, General McCain, they gave a briefing. Then Marco Rubio gave a separate briefing. So what I'll do is I'll go over the excerpts of these, and right, first we'll go. Yeah, okay. Before that, another interesting thing: South China Morning Post. What is South China Morning Post headlines talk of? Okay, it talks of investment. US China discuss investment revival. So they are looking at something else altogether. उनको कुछ से कुछ लेना देना नहीं है. There's all second line headlines. Trump says war could last a month, and will Iran attack derail Trump's high stakes China visit? That's That's their thing. Somewhere they've said, because of all this, China will become an energy superpower. So all the nonsense. The Chinese are coming out with their own kind of propaganda. And the Chinese are positioning themselves as if they are already the victors of this war. Okay. And the USA will lose against Iran. So you'll see these streams and these streams coming up. Okay. Now let's look at what the US side has publicly announced. Okay, I'm going to play this clip. Okay, let me put it this way. See, he says Guntu came and said nothing is happening today. Seems everything has stopped. No videos and X. Yeah, you don't do. You see, this war is not about videos. The war is about here. Okay, all wars are about here. I must tell you this. Okay, so let's first talk of what the chief of joint staffs. It's not chief of staff. Chief of joint staff has said, and in this update and all that, there are two clips. Again, 2-3 clips here. Today I'm going to show. What I want you to say is, if you can't hear it, let me know. I'll put the alternate thing. First, let's go.
To those who would test our resolve or threaten the United States, our allies, or our interests, understand clearly we can reach you, we can sustain the fight, and we can scale the fight, and we will prevail.
So he's very clear. He says we'll reach you, we can scale the fight, we can sustain, and we'll reach you wherever you are. So he's putting across a lot of resolve in this. Right? Thanks a lot, Kiran, for giving me the feedback, but he's putting a lot of resolve. That's what came out across yesterday in the full press conference. It's about 40 minutes. But I'm going to give you only excerpts which I feel are important.
American people, your joint force remains steady, frosty, calm, and focused.
So they're calm, focused, frosty, and steady, right?
Your service members are trained, disciplined, and determined. We understand the risks of this mission and the weight of the responsibility that we carry. We also recognize that our families also shoulder the burden at home. To those who would test our...
So he's put it across, he said, look, we are also concerned about the families and things like that. This is all said and done, the US Armed Forces are trained, well trained. I've worked with them, I've trained with them in India and abroad. So I recognize what he says. You have to, it's like any other armed force like us. Yeah.
First, to be clear, is the Secretary, in some cases, will be difficult and gritty work. We expect to take additional losses. And as always...
And he's very clear. He says we expect to take additional losses. Okay.
We will work to minimize U.S. losses. But as the Secretary said, this is major combat operations.
So they're prepared. They're prepared to suffer casualties. They know that they might suffer casualties. And they're going in for it. As simple as that. Right? Okay. Now let me go back. Yeah. So... Yeah.
First, to be clear, as the Secretary said, this is not a single overnight operation. The military objectives that CENTCOM and the Joint Force have been tasked with will take some time to achieve.
So this is not a simple operation like Venezuela. So all of us who are comparing what happened in Venezuela to this, no. They're prepared to take casualties, they're prepared to stay the course, and they're prepared to scale up and sustain their operations. That's what comes across. Now let's listen to Rubio. I'm telling you at the outset, I'll increase the volume and everything, but the original video sound is low, so I can do very little about it. I'm warning you. So here, because I thought this was a very important statement he gave in a press conference, right?
is our mission and our focus is the destruction of their ballistic missile capabilities and their ability to manufacture them, as well as the threat posed by their Navy to global shipping. That's the objective.
So he has very clearly said the first thing. What is their objective? Destroy Iranian Navy so they can't hinder the global shipping. Destroy the ballistic missile launch capability. Because you can have as many missiles as you want, but if you take out the launchers, end of story. You can't launch them; they're dead weight. So that's what he said. He's spoken of largely the military objectives in this. Okay, I'll decipher each of this. Don't worry.
That said, we would not mind, we would not be heartbroken, and we hope that the Iranian people can overthrow this government and establish.
So he's hoping that the Iranian people will overthrow the government. Yesterday I did mention it's not going to be easy. Because as many people as the Iranians are for change of government, that many people are there who are for the mullah regime. It's a polarized nation. But he has to say what he has to say. At what time will the people who on the street take over from those mullah supporters is a question mark. Right? Yeah.
A new future for that country. We would love for that to be possible. But the objective of this mission is the destruction of their ballistic missile capabilities and of their naval capabilities.
Yeah. Secretary, so are you saying, based on that, are you saying that there is no responsibility, no plan for the U.S. to at least play a role in whatever government comes next?
We might. We'll see how circumstances play out. But I'm telling you what the objectives of this operation are. The objectives of this operation are to destroy their ballistic missile capability and make sure they can't rebuild it, and make sure that they can't hide behind that to have a nuclear program. That's the objective of the mission. That said, abundantly clear, we would love for there to be an Iran that's not governed by radical Shia clerics. As I've said myself repeatedly for years, the leadership of that country does not reflect the people of Iran, and I think that's been pretty apparent in the protests that you've seen. If there's something we can do to help them down the road, we'd obviously be open to it, but that's not the objective. The objective of this mission is the destruction of their ballistic missile capability.
Regime change has not gone well for the United States.
The what now?
Regime change has not gone well for the United States for many, many decades. How do you assure the American public that things will not get worse for the next regime that comes in there and replaces the
Well, we would love to see this regime be replaced. And ultimately, as the president has said, he calls. No, but let me finish my answer. As the president has said, he would love for the people of Iran to use this as an opportunity to rise up and remove these leaders. They've been wanting to remove them from a long time. We've seen successive waves of protests, and we've seen them slaughter people. Okay? But the objective of this mission is to make sure they don't have these weapons that can threaten us and our allies in the region. That's why we're doing what we're doing now. And while we would love to see a new regime, the bottom line is no matter who governs that country a year from now, they're not going to have these ballistic missiles and they're not going to have these drones to threaten us. That's the objective of this mission, is to deny them the ability to use ballistic missiles to threaten their neighbors, to threaten our bases, to threaten our presence in the region, and ultimately as a shield behind which they can do whatever they want with their nuclear weapons ambition. We were not going to let them hide behind that. And that's why this was such a critical mission to undertake now while they were at their weakest point, and not a year from now where they could inflict even more damage and perhaps already be behind that point of immunity.
So, right, the military mission at this point of time, the way they're putting it is very simple. We're going to take out their military capability, ballistic missiles, and navy. He's also spoken of nuclear so that they don't use the nuclear thing. And whichever regime comes in place, we'll talk with it. Right? And if you look at it, and I'll talk tomorrow. In fact, I was to talk today along with Sri IRG, but it didn't happen. I'll talk tomorrow. We'll talk tomorrow of the Trump war doctrine as a whole. We'll talk of it tomorrow. Right? In morning, Good Morning India show. But so far, so good. So we are clear. Their military objectives. I'm talking military objectives at this point. Not the war objectives as Mr. Trump said. Military objectives is to create a condition where probably regime change occurs, degrade Iranian military capability, everything. And for that, you heard they're prepared to scale up, they're going the distance, they're prepared to take casualties. Absolute resolve. Now, add to this, certain other things have come out. We'll talk of it as you go. I'll keep highlighting because what's unfolding is interesting. Now, at this point itself, I would like to say, our Prime Minister has spoken to the Saudis and he's put it out that look, he's spoken to MBS, Mohammed bin Salman, and said we are with them. And because at this point of time, there's no way we can be with Iran, with the government of Iran. We can be with the people of Iran, not with this government, because there's no government. And they're gone berserk. Okay? They're gone berserk. So let's go ahead.
Is our mission and our
Okay. What's the status of the Strait of Hormuz? Almost no movement. Okay, almost no movement. Okay. Now, US people have started putting out videos and movies and pictures and satellite images of what damage they've occurred after 48 hours. Suddenly, they would have realized, look, no one is believing what we have done. Okay, so this is from US Central Command. So some what shall I say? Some proof of what they've done is being given. But are they telling the full truth? We don't know. Look, they're not giving for the kind of damage which they're doing, for the kind of targets they're hitting. 1,000 targets if you hit, you should have post-strike damage assessment of all that. You should be putting it out. And considering that now it's come out that Starlink is being used for all this. So one of the drones which I saw this just before I started the show. A drone somewhere fell down and they found that it was a Starlink link. So Starlink has been weaponized. So they must put out what they're doing. Otherwise, we don't know what they're doing. And in this, they said that the Iranian regime had 11 ships in the Gulf of Oman. Today, they have 0. So that 11 ships they have claimed, and they're showing some photographs. Okay, I'll go with it. For the time being, I'll go with it. Right? So, freedom of navigation has underpinned American and global economic prosperity for more than 80 years. US forces will continue to defend it. So that's what they've said. Look, we're going to be here and all that. And plus, they're now giving evidence that the Iranian naval capability is being degraded. But their missile capability is not fully degraded as yet. Let's be very clear. Because missile strikes are happening. But what's interesting, right, is that there are 3 jets, 3 F-15s who've been shot over Kuwait by own friendly fire. So you see, the best of countries have this problem. You remember during the time of Balakot, when one of our helicopters was knocked off by our own friendly fire. Of course, there were court of inquiry, all that. But these things happen in battle. Okay, they lost 3 F-15s. It's not a joke in Kuwait. And very clearly, the Iranians have not claimed it. And if I were an Iranian, I would have claimed it. But they know that it's their own fire, and they're going to do a evacuation. I mean, investigation into it and all. But that's a later day story. And then, of course, now the toll has gone to 6 people dead. So we'll see where it goes. It's just not one way. Why I'm saying is that Iran, whether you like it or not, the fact is they're putting up a tough fight, and this time they're much better organized and planned. And they have organized for disruption. And that's why you see that targets are being engaged in depth across the region, but they're not fully coordinated. But that doesn't matter. But they're still alive and kicking. Okay, it's not going to be easy. Right. US naval facility in Bahrain has been hit, and some pictures are being circulated on the social media about wreckage burning, all that. What I'd like to say is, yes, there has been a hit in Bahrain, in Kuwait, and all these places. Be careful about AI generated videos and things. There's an AI generated video by the Chinese. The Chinese are playing this game of an aircraft carrier, Abraham Lincoln, being broken. Chinese. Okay. Chinese are very good at this video effect. उनका HQ9 काम नहीं करेगा. That will not work. But their AI, EA stuff they'll do. Okay. So let's be very clear what the Chinese can do and not do. Also, will come out in this, and then we make an assessment where the Chinese are actually. Right. Now, the US Embassy in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, has been affected. So you see across the Gulf, every place they've hit, right? And what's more, they've hit Saudi Arabia's Aramco Ras Tanura oil refinery, one of the biggest refineries of Saudi Arabia. It's been hit, right? So now Iran has got a clear strategy. Like I said yesterday, at two levels. One is hit US bases and US military targets, no matter where they are. And of course, along with US, they're also targeting Israel. Okay, they've activated their proxies to do whatever they can against all these people. Okay, and the second strategy is they're now getting after all the Gulf states and their oil. Why? It's very simple. If because you are sitting in my house gets hit, and my oil well gets burnt, I am at a loss. Then the hope is that I'll kick you out, and you are USA. That's what Iran is doing. Iran is playing this game not as a, it's playing a hybrid kind of a warfare. Okay, and of course, look at this. This is another form which has come up, which Sunil has said. It's right. I couldn't pick up that clip. I wouldn't say I saw that and I passed over, but I think now as I'm speaking, Sunil has come out with the right thing. Shia groups in Iraq have attacked the US Erbil base and airport. Yes, it has happened. Okay, it's happening. That's why I said the proxies. And right, remember what he says is 100% right. Iraq has a Shia population, and Saudi Arabia's oil-rich province also has a Shia majority. Okay, and so this war is becoming dangerous. Say all wars are dangerous, right? But you just think, go back. You know what he's talking of Iraq, isn't it? Iraq is always been a Shia majority state, with the ruling class used to be Sunnis. Saddam Hussein, Baath Party. He controlled everything. For some reason, these chaps went and did what they had to do with Iraq. Ever since then, it is unstable. If Iraq was there, Iraq would have stabilized Iran out. Iraq was stabilizing Turkey out, or the balance of the entire Middle East was broken by US long back in the Gulf War and two wars. Ever since then, the balance has gone. Now it's completely imbalanced. Now that Iraq will go, you will see the imbalance which will come into the Gulf. But that's for a later day. Right? Let's get ahead. Okay. Now here comes something very interesting. Steve Witkoff has come out and said, he's come out and said on Fox TV, I couldn't get the clip fully, I didn't have the time. I just saw it just starting this and I picked this up and tried. He says the Iranians, he's been negotiating with the Iranians, Steve Witkoff, for those of you who don't know. Let me read it out. In that first meeting, both the Iranian negotiators said to us directly with no shame that they controlled 460 kilograms at 60% enriched, and that they are aware they can make 11 nuclear bombs out of it. So Iran still retains that capability to, enough fissile material to make 11 bombs. 60% enrichment is bomb grade, but that's dirty bomb grade. But the way Iran is, and if this regime can survive, those 11 bombs are at risk everywhere, because this regime will be so weak and they'll only derive power from the nuclear material they have. So if this is the case, if you destroyed a government, you destroyed a government structure, you destroyed all missile capability, everything in a country and it gets taken over by a mad guy or whoever with unstable, and that fellow has 460 kilograms of uranium enriched, what will it do? Why will I make 11 bombs? I'll make 22 small pack bombs and send them with backpacks. See that movie Peacemaker? Okay, see that movie Peacemaker. And it's not, I don't think it's going to be difficult for Iran, the radical part of Iran, to do this. So, there is no choice now for anyone to turn back on Iran. They have to get this 460 kilogram of uranium. Now it's confirmed. It didn't go off in that Natanz strike and all that. They've hidden it somewhere. Okay. So that's how it is. So the stakes in this whole story have gone up with this one statement. But it's not as if others don't know. Definitely look at this Washington Post article. Came yesterday. They say that this war is not Trump's idea alone. And very interesting, isn't it? It's not Trump's idea alone. It appears that Israel also wanted this war, and more importantly, Saudi Arabia wanted this war. Saudi Arabia has been pushing, egging USA to get into the war, as per this report. Yeah, it sounds logical to me. It sounds very logical. On one level, they're talking something else outside, about Muslim world, yeah, all that. And at other level, they're egging Mr. Trump on for this war. So, I mean, to blame Mr. Trump alone for starting this war, well, I don't think so. I think there's a lot riding in this whole story. And this brings me to the next joker in this pack is Pakistan. Today, Pakistan, yesterday I showed, Pakistan is loving on nothing. It's got nothing. If tomorrow America lets it go, end of story. Okay. Yesterday that defense minister said he doesn't have money to buy oil. Okay. But the Pakistanis are attacking the American embassies. They are protesting against Iran. The Pakistanis in UN have said this war is unjust. Everything. So where does that leave Pakistan? Where does that leave USA and Pakistan? I'll talk of it a little later again. Okay. Now that the Shahid drones were being used by Russia also against Ukraine, now people are getting experts from Ukraine to counter these drones through UK and whoever. So now there's some connectivity which is going to happen between what's happening in Ukraine and what's happening here in terms of expertise, all that. So new things are thing. Okay. Then of course the Chinese. The Chinese are the ultimate jokers in this. They're only doing propaganda, but look at this propaganda which they're putting. He says back in 2024, before the US elections, a Beijing-based historian named Jiang Zhuan predicted 3 massive things that sounded insane at that time, but 2 have already hit. I mean, this is his prediction. Trump will win 2024 elections that everyone knew. United States will go to war against Iran. Yep. United States will lose this war, which will forever change the global order. So this propaganda is on from a long time. Changing the global order means what if US loses this war? China. So they want to now rule the world through propaganda, death traps, wolf warriorism. लड़ना नहीं है, लड़ने में दम नहीं है इनका. They don't want to come and fight with anyone. They'll run away. So that's what China is. We must understand. They're the most third-rate characters are Chinese. Then let's get to Pakistan. Just think of Pakistan. There are protests in Pakistan why America has attacked Iran. Okay, today. And they want money from America, which I've said yesterday. I spent about 10 minutes on that. And today the news comes that look, this is the route which has been taken by US aircraft through Pakistan. So what have they said? He says our precise investigations indicate that the United States and the Zionist regime used Pakistan's airspace in their attack on Iran. Pakistan will soon pay the price for this action, and like the Gulf states, will not remain safe from our missiles. So thank you, Pakistan. They have a ball. You can also receive some missiles from Iran. Then after that, what do? You go and attack Iran. Go and attack Iran. Once you get attacked, be our guest. You go attack Iran, go attack Taliban, Balochistan will attack you, Baluch people will attack you, TTP people will attack you, some more bombs will go off in Islamabad, okay, and all that, and Asim Munir will be bloody one day knocked off. That's the way I look at it. So this is the news for Pakistan. Now, the most interesting thing which I want to focus, which I've been saying from day one, this war is not about Iran. This war is about China. And Peter Santonje, he says, what is this? He says 90% of Iran's oil was going to China. 70% of Venezuela's oil was going to China. Now China faces a $2 billion, 2 million barrel hole. Where will it get this oil from? So one is it's going to be hit with an energy shortage, and second, it's going to cost them more. So it's going to upset China a hell of a lot. Don't get carried away by saying China has got energy, they have alternate energy, this, that, all nonsense. They still need oil from here. See, they were getting Iranian oil, Venezuelan oil, and other Middle East oil. All that is at risk once Mr. Trump gets hold of oil. I've been saying this. I've been saying this for the past 1 year, ever since Mr. Trump got elected. After Venezuela, capture of Venezuela or Maduro, I started saying, look, they've already sorted out Iran. They're going to sort out Iran. They're going to kick China out of that. China, this oil will come onto the market. If that oil comes to the market, China is stuck. Now he says so. Now you want to hear him full? Hear him.
Is the decapitation of Iran about ending its nuclear program? Or is it about China and the future of the dollar as reserve currency? In case you spent the weekend touching grass, Saturday morning Donald Trump bombed Iran, apparently wiping out the leadership who were helpfully having a giant staff meeting for their monthly TPS reports. Now, Trump hopes this sets off a scramble for power. Critics call it bomb and pray, with candidates including the deposed prince, a military junta, or low echelon regime officials who might have very short life expectancies. But what happens in Iran does not stay in Iran, because of the millions of barrels of oil Iran was exporting, 90% of which was going to China, even higher than the 70% of Venezuela oil that was going to China. And none of it was being paid in US dollars, since both Venezuela and Iran are sanctioned on the SWIFT dollar payment system. Now, this is raising questions whether Iran was actually a strategic...
So, look, that's what he says. Was Iran a strategic stepping stone to China? I've always said that. Now the Angrez is saying that you will believe it. When this old man says, no one believes it. That's the pity. But I've been very clear right from beginning. Okay?
Strike against China, who's already reeling from a real estate crisis and massive overcapacity in manufacturing, which is exacerbated by Trump's trade war. The background is China has been one of the biggest beneficiaries of the Ukraine war, gobbling up Russian oil and gas that used to go to Europe and getting it at a fat discount since it is sanctioned. This turned Russia into China's biggest oil and gas provider, and China now buys nearly half of Russian oil, which is about double its pre-war share. China was doing the same with Iran and Venezuela, buying their sanctioned oil at a fat discount, essentially buying shoplifted groceries on the street instead of going into Walmart and paying like everybody else, which gave it a big cost advantage. For scale, 25% of China's pre-war oil imports came from Russia, Venezuela, and Iran. That's risen to 40%, of which half were Venezuela and Iran. Now, the last time America strangled oil on an Asian country, it led to Pearl Harbor. That was 1940s Japan, which was forced to either walk away from its China invasion or seize oil-rich European colonies. Today, the most likely outcome is China has to outbid the other half of Russian oil, most of which today is going to India, which also re-exports a hefty chunk black market to Europe. Almost all of this oil is by ship from the Arctic since Ukraine bombed Russia's oil pipelines, meaning it is very easy to switch. So China loses its cheap oil, India and Europe will have to scramble for supply, perhaps they'll even buy American. There's a final D to the 3D chess saying Iran was not about mullahs, it was not about China, it was about the petrodollar. The idea that the US punishes countries who don't price oil in dollars to defend the dollar as reserve currency, which allows 38 trillion in debt. There's an entire...
Look, again, I've always been saying this is all about control of oil and the petrodollar and China. I mean, he might have a different view about it, but I'm very clear. The peer competitor to China was USA, or rather, the peer competitor to USA was China. So Trump and company had to bring China down. I mean, again, I repeat, just think China has been kicked out. It's not a matter of only oil. What he's talking of oil, Mr. Trump has strengthened the petrodollar. Now the petrodollar can't go out. All those idiots who are talking of de-dollarization, forget it, yeah. I've been saying from beginning, no de-dollarization can happen. No, de-dollarization will happen. You're an idiot. Fine, I'm an idiot. Now de-dollarization won't happen. So you spoke of de-dollarization. So you are an idiot, isn't it? As simple as that. And then influence. From Latin America, China is virtually kicked out. I have been saying this. I'll repeat it. Venezuela, Guyana, Colombia, Peru, right? Gone. Mexico, out. They're still there. They loaf around with some factories and all. But influence is out. Now the axe is falling on Cuba. If Cuba falls, thank you, China. In that area. They've been kicked out of the Panama Canal. Kicked out. All in a matter of about 5-6 months. Now they're being kicked out of Iran. You think USA will let them get back in? It doesn't matter which kind of a government comes into Iran. China will not be able to come in. You watch it. Okay. So China has lost face. It has lost oil. It has no more this thing, and it's lying there. And I have to do an analysis about China. Can China break up or something else? I'll do that analysis. When I get a time, I'm ready with it. Okay. Multiple indications. Okay. Let's finish this and then go ahead.
Industry blaming U.S. wars on petrodollar defense. Essentially, when a regime stops pricing oil in dollars, his days are numbered. Trump knocking out the two biggest non-dollar oil exporters would be right on cue. So as next brought to you by I Trust Capital, in a single morning, Trump took away China's cheap oil. He may force India and Europe to buy American. And if the petrodollar was part of the deal, it means Trump's gone from wanting a weak dollar to promote exports to wanting a strong dollar to finance trillion-dollar federal deficits. Listen to all last week's videos in a single 20-minute podcast. Search Peter St. Ons wherever you enjoy your podcasts.
So that's how it is. Right? Now let's get back to Pakistan. See what's happening in Saudi Arabia. That's what Sushant Sareen has tweeted. I liked it. Okay, and in fact, I should have spoken of it yesterday, but it missed me. So I saw this and picked it up. See what's happening in Saudi Arabia. Oh, Iran is hitting Saudi Arabia, isn't it? Iran is hitting Saudi Arabia. They have a mutual defense pact. So as per the mutual defense pact, an attack on one country is the attack on the other country. So they're supposed to be mutually defending each other. What's happened to it? So will Pakistan go and attack Iran to help Saudi Arabia out? If that happens, we're looking at another war. Iran is saying, I'll fire missiles at you because you allowed US to use air bases or airspace. Air bases also. Pasni, Samungli and Jivani have been used. So he's already threatening thing. There's a mutual pact between Saudi Arabia and Pakistan. This will all do. So let's see where it's going. But पाकिस्तान तो भिखारी है, उनके पास क्या है? नंगा है, निचोड़ लो उसको, जूस भी नहीं आएगा. So all these stories are happening simultaneously. Please understand this. Okay. And then this is a very interesting thing which this chap has put out. I must read it out. Ken Cow. He gives me a lot of information about China. Okay. And what does he say? Iran drones just hit a major shopping mall in Sharjah. Even he's giving a statement. Wealthy elites moved to Dubai for tax shelter and now found themselves in a bomb shelter. How nice, isn't it? He says people who have gone there for being in a tax haven are now seeking a bomb shelter. But look, on a different note, look at this which come out, which Sputnik India has put out. Okay, oil from the Gulf could get squeezed. But is this the time for us? Yeah, you're stuck on oil. If you go low on oil, get Russian oil. There's no cap asset on Russian oil. And we tell people, look, if Russian oil doesn't come out, the oil market will spike up. And you already have a bargain deal with them. So taking more Russian oil at this point of time will help your economy. When the dollar, the oil rates keep going up because you got on a contract basis already with Russia, you're okay. Look at it anyway, you're okay. But even if the dollar goes to $100 a barrel, I'm not bothered. Yeah, in a few months we will all have to pay a little more. But we are a $4 trillion economy. When we were just $1 trillion economy, we were paying $150 per barrel. Just go back. Time of Mr. Chidambaram and Manmohan Singh ji. Today, you are a $4 trillion economy, 60, 70, 80, 100 also, so what if? And you continue with Russian oil. Speak to the Americans. You say, look, I'm going to get it and I'll sell oil a little cheaper so that I stabilize global market. They'll have to accept it today. And especially considering that Russia and USA are trying to make up. Is it time for us to tell Russia, get off your bloody Ukraine thing, whatever you had, be happy with it and do a deal? Russia should have the brains to do it. Because they want to get back onto the dollar. They want to ditch the UN. Okay. So this Iran war is going to shake up a lot of things. Venezuela didn't. Because Venezuela didn't matter much to the whole world. But Iran matters. Iran is in the center of everything. Okay? Right. Okay, that's what I have today. I thought I'll give you a short update. It's reasonably short. I've finished off 43 minutes. And I'll get back in the evening. In the evening, I'm going to have a panel. I'm going to have General Hasnain, General Gautam Murthy, and Ambassador Trigunayat, who's been our ambassador to Jordan during his service. We'll get a different viewpoint from that panel. How Iran is fighting back. Make no mistake, Iran is fighting back. Iran is fighting back like I never thought it would. But they are fighting back not only with just the might of their rocket force, but also with plan. They're not pooping off. They're targeting and letting go 1 or 2 missiles and drones at a time. As a result, the effort has been magnified. And they still have a stock. They are doing with a plan. What they today don't have is a coordinated, communication system or a command and control system that's broken. And it's possible that each of these regional commanders or whoever it is are carrying out their own battle separately, independent of each other. And maybe they trained for it, maybe they prepared for it. And look, something happens, you do your task, your task, your task, this will be your task, carry on, and they're carrying on. So things are not going to be easy. This war is not going to finish, and we'll see how the Iranians are fighting back against USA. How USA is going to go ahead. What are the options? What are the way forward? I'll get, what's more than an ambassador to Jordan coming and speaking to all of you? Come in the evening at 8 o'clock and join in, and you'll learn about all this. Okay, and we'll understand where we go, and then we'll see where we go. We can say we are in a safe position. Yeah, we are in a safe position. Our economy won't get hit the way everyone else will get hit. But still, we have our concerns. We have our concerns. That is why the Cabinet Committee of Security met yesterday to see how oil flows from there can be managed. Right? Some oil flow some will come from Nigeria, some will come from the Red Sea route. Through Saudi Arabia can give us through the Red Sea route, everything. So a lot of things are there. 8 o'clock in the evening, right? Okay. Thanks a lot, Baminas, for becoming a YouTube member. So grateful to you. Let me see. Yeah. Is it wrong to expect more from a Muslim community in case of terrorist attacks, national interest vis-a-vis the way they are protesting after the death of Khamenei, or am I wrong? Look, it's like this. What do you expect for them to do? For the Shias, the spiritual head and the center was Iran. And the head of that, after all, Khamenei was a political guy, but he was supposed to be there. Mullah, the main mullah, he is dead. So people will react. Let them react. How does it matter? If as far as they don't, break the law and order, it's okay. Let them put some black flags up and go here and there and mourn for it. So it's okay. So what if democracy hai, jane do. But if they step out of bounds, then the danda. There's no doubt about it. Okay. On that, you have to modify. You have to be a little more practical about it. Yeah, they put out a command to say decentralized. Yeah, they would. That's normal. Yeah, please discuss what are the gains and losses out of this war for Pakistan, China, and India. Pakistan ke to bata diya maine. And maybe let things happen, Himanshi, for a few days more, how things pan out, and then I'll discuss. China, definitely. Yesterday I did discuss China and Pakistan, but I'll discuss more on this. Okay, I will. Yeah, even if nuclear facilities are attacked, can enriched uranium and scientific knowledge truly be eliminated? No, it can't. Enriched uranium can be eliminated, but knowledge can't be eliminated. Okay. And does that make regime change and diplomacy the only? No, it's not. Look, a lot of things could have been done. But then it's like looking back over your shoulder. Well, that's gone. They've come, both USA and Iran have come to a stage where they can't look back. They're no gone. I mean, all said and done, though we've had good relations with Iran didn't behave exactly like a friend of ours. Iran has not been a friend of ours. We've had good equations with Iran, but Iran has been a kind of a shifty kind of a neighbor. We were never on a solid ground with these fellows. That's the thing. Okay, so we'll leave it at that. The global financial markets, both debt and equity in general, and the related markets in Bharat are in for a roller coaster ride in the present and foreseeable future. I agree with you. I think for the next 1 year, we'll be in a up and down kind of a situation when things stabilize here. Once these stabilize and all these FTAs start getting kicked in, after all, even the Canadian Prime Minister was here, you'll see things changing. But if you are looking at only making money out of the global financial market and all, and if you're a trader, फिर ठीक है. If you are not, ना, वो अपना पैसा बैंक में डालो, स्टेट बैंक ऑफ इंडिया में डालो, पोस्ट ऑफिस में डालो, अच्छा रहेगा, जैसे हमने डाला है. I'll be very honest with you. I just have about 20-25% in of my money. I put in, stocks, and that too through mutual funds. People like us can't make money. As simple as that. Okay, I think a lot of comments, very less questions. We'll take questions in the evening from that elite panel because I think those people are thing. Like he says, this is a time to go for fishing in stock market. All the best. Yeah, I am not the guy to it. Yeah, yeah. Senior citizen scheme gives. Sorry, senior citizen scheme gives 8.2. Yeah, I do that. I put money in that. Right. So okay. So Iran is firing decoys and low-tech missile to exhaust US shield and will fire higher-tech missiles. Look, this is all nonsense. These are all normal tactics. Everyone knows it. I'm sure USA knows how to get out of it. We got out of it. Pakistan tried it with us so that we can fire high-tech AD. We didn't. We fired old AD, and I'm sure USA also knows how to do it. Look, professional armies know how to do things. Leave it at that. Okay. Mm. Look, this is a very interesting question. That's why I've taken it. PM Modi tweeted about his discussion with Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Israel, but not mentioned Iran. Do you think there's a change in strategy in Indian approach? No, there's no change. We are reacting to a situation. We have to understand today. That's why I said we are not now against Iran, but I think we need to stabilize what the government of Iran is trying. They can't keep firing all over and creating chaos. That's out. Okay. So they have to be very clear and they isolated. They have to do a deal. They have to reassure the people that look, we are with everyone. We are a normal nation. The point is, over the past 50 years, though we've had good relations with Iran, Iran has not been a normal nation. It has been a radical nation. That's why I said yesterday, I mean, this is something very, you must understand this very seriously. You see, south of the Gulf, look at it, south of the Gulf, right? You see states like Oman, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Kuwait. All these are progressive. They're making money, they're diversifying and increasing their thing, financial services, real estate. They're getting into manufacturing and they want IMEC and things like that. North, you see, all failed states. Iraq, Pakistan, Iran, Iraq, Syria, सब नंगे हैं, भूखे नंगे type. And Iran has gone to them and put their proxies and creating chaos. Neither is Iran happy nor they are happy. So I think we have to take a hard-headed stance. We need not get into a problem with Iran but like what we did with Afghanistan. When Afghanistan was not good, we didn't side with them. But we sided with the people, not with the government. Same thing here. Okay. So there are many ways of how to deal with it. So I'm sure government of India is very adept at all this. Right? And understand, they've like what he said, Ranger, that people forget easily or ignorant about Iran role in funding of terrorism across the world. Yeah, they've been bad. They've that fellow who got killed, Khamenei, he spoke against India and in relation to Kashmir. Okay. So that's about all. Okay. So I think we have to take a pragmatic view about all this. I'm sure we will. I'll stop today at this point of time. Join me back in the evening, 8 o'clock. We'll talk about Iran's fight back. Till then, have a great time. Enjoy yourself and have a good day. Best wishes to you and your family. And last but not the least, I'd like to thank all my subscribers who made this channel a success. With this, Jai Hind and good day.